Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, today we're going to talk about the 99-cent Kindle ebook pricing myth. Now, currently, when you charge 99 cents for your Kindle ebook, if you go through Kindle Direct Publishing, of course, you're going to make a royalty rate of 35%. Okay, there's just no question about it. However, if you price your book $2.99 or above, or whatever the current cutoff price is there, you can get royalties of up to 70%. Not in all markets, of course, but for the majority of the key markets, you could get up to 70% royalties. So if you can make so much more money, not only in terms of just the sheer price, but the higher royalty rate, why, oh, why do you default to charging just 99 cents for your ebook? Now, there's a whole lot of mental games going on with authors who, by default, charge just 99 cents. One of the comments I see regularly in posts, social media, is that the low price encourages readers to try and buy my book. Did you know? And I had a couple of comments that said, I did not know this. Do you know that a reader can return their Kindle ebook within 7 days if they don't like it? You know, Amazon's got this big customer service thing going on. And if you're not happy, they're going to make it right with you. So they have a 7-day trial period with your Kindle ebook. So why do you want to charge just a few pennies for it, essentially, less than $1, just 99 cents? Why do you want to do that? If they try it and they like it, they're going to be happy with their purchase. And I think that's a fair trial. You know, somebody could read your book in 7 days. Easy enough. Unless it's like War and Peace or something like that, somebody could logically read your book in 7 days. Now, granted, if Amazon sees a reader who's consistently returning Kindle ebooks, oh, I just didn't like it, they're going to have a little bit of a conversation with them or put some clamps down on their account. I mean, that's just odd behavior. So they're probably going to suggest that that person get into Kindle Unlimited or some other program as well. And you have to think about this too. Let's say it's just the try and buy buyers that you want. Do you really want to attract those kind of buyers who are only willing to pay 99 cents for your book? I don't know if I do. Here's the other thing, and this is another mental game that authors fall into. It doesn't cost me anything to self-publish on Kindle Direct Publishing. You're right, it doesn't. It's a free platform for you to self-publish on. But that doesn't mean you have zero costs to be an author. Remember that you have a website. You probably have a domain name. You need internet service. Let's just say that your cost for your domain, your website hosting, your internet service is like $350 a year. Okay? And that's a low estimate. Now, how many 99-cent books where you'd get a 35% royalty, how many books would you have to sell? Let's do the math a second. Okay, so you would have to sell 1,000 books. Now, I've seen some estimates that self-published books don't sell more than 250. I've seen some estimates of 500 copies of the book in the entire lifespan of the self-published book. And I'm going to say you're not an anomaly. You're just like the rest of us. It's hard to sell 1,000 copies of a book, which means in order to get that 1,000 copies, you're going to have even more expenses. So now you're losing even more money over time. So it may not cost you anything to use the Kindle Direct Publishing platform, but that doesn't mean you have zero costs. And here's the other thing that authors don't understand about marketing. They say, well, I'll make it up in volume. No, you won't. Again, we just talked about that. If you're only going to sell like 250 or 500 copies of your book in its entire lifespan, you don't have the volume to make up for that low price. You're not Walmart. You are not Walmart. Oh boy. And as I've talked about in my Udemy course and on blog posts, but my Udemy course particularly, how to sell your self-published book on Amazon, only about 1% of your author platform actually buys your book. That's a reasonable forecast per year. So do the math again. If you have only 1,000 followers, maybe you might do 100 copies. So yes, you're not going to make it up on volume. And then there's the Kindle Unlimited problem. Now, Kindle Unlimited is a completely different subject. I can't get into it here because it's so in-depth, and it's one of the other things that I really do a deep dive in on the how to sell your self-published book on Amazon. I go through worksheets and calculations, and you'll see how to do it. But we have to remember that a lot of people may be reading your book on Kindle Unlimited. Well, the 99-cent price doesn't mean anything at that point because it's all included in their subscription fee. They can have out up to 10 titles at a time. Then when they, turn one in, they can get another one. It's just, they could read so many books and the pricing doesn't even matter. So why are you charging a low price? Because these Kindle Unlimited sampling type readers, they're going to get it for pennies. Not even that. You're not even going to get the royalties on that you would for a full sale. It's just going to be parts or shares of that Amazon Global Fund. And like I said, that's a completely different subject for other podcasts, which I know I've talked about before. So what should you price your book at? Well, recently, in the past couple of years, I've been going with the price that's suggested by the Kindle Direct Publishing pricing support tool. You access it as you're uploading your title to Kindle Direct Publishing, and what they do is they compare your book. Amazon's robots compare your book to others like it on the Amazon Marketplace. And then they suggest a price so that it can maximize your royalties and maximize their sales too. Don't be mistaken. But I use that tool. I found in some cases that I was charging too little, and sometimes I was charging too much. So I adjusted my price accordingly, and it is so worth it. So definitely check out that pricing tool. Now, I hope you have found this helpful. And if you have, I would really appreciate it if you would rate and review the Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast platform you use. I would prefer it, of course, if you rated and reviewed on Apple Podcasts, but I'm also on Spotify and Stitcher and Podbean, and you can listen to the podcast on your Alexa with the Apple Podcast app. And of course, if you like these video podcasts better, all you have to do is subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel and make sure you turn on the notifications with a little notification bell. At least that's what it is right now. Those settings so that you turn the notifications on so you know when a video comes out. Now, my self-published books, of course, are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is type in my name, Heidi Thorne, and look for my author page, and all my books that are available on those platforms are shown there. I would appreciate it if you would share my podcast or my books with your friends on social media. And if you'd like to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. In the meantime, have a great day.